Hi, this is Carrie from Tone Wars. We're going to go live in just a few minutes, but before we do, I just wanted to take a few seconds to say a few things. Jared and I really appreciate when you guys tune in and interact with us when we go live. We work very hard to make sure that our live streams and our produced videos are educational and entertaining for everyone. Believe it or not, there's a lot of work that goes into our live streams and our produced videos. So if you like what you're experiencing here, here's a couple ways you can help us out. The Super Chat feature is turned on, and any amount will be appreciated. Jared is also available for private consultation for a nominal fee. You can contact Jared through two of the links below. One is through our Tone Wars Facebook page, and the other is through email. So thank you so much for your support. The live stream's about ready to start, so go pour yourself your favorite glass of whiskey or other libation, and we'll be right with you. Cheers!
Welcome to Tone Wars. Hey everybody, what's going on? Whew, man, what a day it's been preparing for this. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate seeing you guys here. It's kind of lounge pants and gym attire night for me. Just trying to stay comfortable and get back to 100% here. And I honestly was kind of like, what am I going to do tonight? Because I don't have any gear. The store, Motor City Guitar, the store that I do a lot of gear demos for, they're obviously closed right now, along with a lot of other people. They're still shipping. You just can't come in the store. So I don't have any new gear to do on my normal Wednesday night show. So I figured, well, why don't I do some other stuff? Why don't I talk about, because there's a lot of people, I'm in the Kemper group on Facebook, and I've actually had some people reach out to me recently and ask me how I'm getting such great tones out of it, because they can't seem to they're struggling with it. And I get it. I've been there too. So I figured, well, maybe I could put together 5 reasons why, your Kemper might sound terrible to you. And I have some of those reasons in the room here with me. I wonder if you guys can spot them. And I was going to go over those concepts and what those reasons are and why it's true that those reasons, are, and give you solutions for that. So not just to complain, but actually give you solutions. And then I was going to show, I'm not a guitar teacher. I bet you 80% of the people that are watching right now are 10 times better than I'll ever be. But I just figured, you know what? I might as well share some riffs or some concepts that I use a lot. And maybe it would give you guys something to kind of look forward to practicing or trying out or making them your own concepts. You know how you take a riff or a concept from somebody else and then you kind of make it your own. And maybe it would kind of kickstart some ideas for you, because we're all stuck home working on stuff. Might as well have something to practice, right? Something kind of maybe a little different to practice. I've been doing that too. I watch Rick Graham, and he's like one of the best YouTuber, guitar players out there, and that guy's just insane. I could do like 1% of what he teaches. But what's cool though is, I modify the concepts that he teaches and I make them work for me, and I'm still learning things and bettering myself. So it's all good, No whiskey tonight, still drinking healthy stuff. Cheers. Hope you guys are enjoying a nice glass of whiskey or whatever. Hopefully when Carrie's here on Sunday, if she makes her triumphant return on Sunday, we'll have a glass of whiskey together. I actually did a light workout today and went for a walk, so still dealing with the pink weights and the light routines, but just trying to get everything back here. Let me jump in the chat here and say hello. We got 23 people here. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate it. Tim Shirka, what's going on, buddy? Mule Blues, what's happening? Steve Shaheen, one of our heroes. Everybody, thanks Steve Shaheen for being. He's in the medical community, and he's one of the guys that's putting it out there, like just putting his life on the line and taking care of people and doing a fantastic job. God bless you, Steve. Thanks for being here. Aaron Short, what's going on? Solar Guitar Studios, what's happening, buddy? Dave Rebell, what's happening? Warm Chord Music, what's going on, Jay? Eric Carpenter, what's happening? Mark Bowers, what's happening? Gunnerman54, what's happening, man? Gravel Rocks, what's going on, buddy? Let's see. He says, Gravel Rock says, take an amp and put a EQ in the effects loop. It's magic. Like an amp on steroids. That's something I haven't tried yet. Might have to look into that. JJ's House of Jams, what's happening, buddy? Dave Schneider, what's happening? You may be better than an average guitar player. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All I hear are my mistakes. You know, that's all I hear when I play is like what I could have done better, what I could have played differently. You know, I'm like, you know, how they say you're your own worst critic. I'm like the critic that's constantly just throwing rocks at myself. But one of these days, maybe I'll be you know, satisfied with where I'm at. Scotty Reno, what's going on, buddy? Glad you're back on the mend, he says. You look so much better. Thank you. Yeah, today was the first. I know I said this probably to some people a few times, but you know, yesterday I woke up with vertigo. That was fun. So I spent half the day struggling with that, and today was the first day I actually rolled out of bed and was like, wow, I'm going to open all the windows. I'm going for a walk. I actually felt really good when I got up this morning. Still not 100%, but still much better and much better mood. You know, I've been kind of a cranky old prick for a couple weeks now, so it's kind of nice to feel human again. Let's see here. I should have brought my glasses. Where are they? I think they're over there. So if I misread some of these posts here, I apologize. Jim Sieben, what's going on, buddy? We got to get together soon because I want to, I want to hang out, obviously, but and I know that's still kind of iffy with all the stuff, but I still got to profile your amp, man. I think I'm looking forward to that. McKinley, what's your favorite woods for a bass guitar? Getting specs together for a build. Would like to hear your thoughts. You know, I appreciate the question. I'm really not sure, to be honest. I mean, I definitely don't want to pretend to know what sounds best for a bass guitar. But I can tell you this, for all the guitars that I play, like guitars, I love mahogany. Mahogany has a little bit of a darker sound, and maple is, I mean, this has a maple shield, but it's all mahogany around it, and it's a Honduran mahogany neck and a ebony fretboard. I like the darker sounding stuff. Maple for me is kind of spanky. It's kind of spanky and bright. Maybe for a bass it would be best though, because since the bass is a lower tuned instrument, maybe going with a wood that's a little brighter would kind of balance that out. I'm really not sure, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I do appreciate you being here and I appreciate the question. Yeah, good luck on your quest, buddy. I mean, I hope you find something that works for you. Let's see here. Drowser Snake, what's going on, buddy? I'm actually listening on my studio monitors tonight. Oh, this is Robert. Oh, what's going on, Robert? Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. This is going to be interesting. Chicago Todd. Woohoo! He says I sound so much better. Thank you. Yeah, I feel better today. Today's been a good day so far. You know, I even did a light workout today, and I went for a walk in the woods, and it was nice. It was nice being out there again. It really was. George, what's going on? Hello, what's up? How are you feeling? Okay. Let's see. I hope you're feeling okay now. What monitors do you recommend for like under $500? Thank you very much. I actually have the Mackeys. The Mackie, I think you can get like easily the 6-inch monitors or even something in that kind of, you know, size that work really well. I mean, if you're looking at, you know, getting a good pair of studio monitors for your Kemper or any other kind of product out there, the Mackeys are actually pretty damn good. They work really well. There's probably some other ones that I'm sure some other guys can recommend. But if you're just looking for something that's economical, and the nice thing about monitors is they're stereo. So like you can have a nice stereo sound in your room. And I took my monitors, like here's an example. This is what I have up in my living room. I don't play through them very often, but when I do, it's nice because they're 15 feet apart from each other. And I get that nice big stereo spread. And when I'm practicing the backing tracks upstairs or whatever, and I want to do it at a lower volume, those monitors really help. And that's why I have them down here for an example as an option for you guys. Quick kind of warning, I might have to use the restroom. I got to drink lots of fluid still. So I'm trying to minimize that tonight, but but anyways, so let me pull up my sheet here. Okay, so we're going to talk tonight about possibly why your Kemper doesn't sound good to you. And so let me move this over. I got this Word document up here to keep me on point, so I'm just going to kind of move it over and keep it out of the screen here. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons, the biggest culprits for that is this right here. And it's funny because I see a lot of people. Now, let me preface with this. Obviously, not everybody can afford the best of everything, and a lot of people, when they make a purchase of a Kemper at $1,700, I mean, they're just like, man, I'm tapped. I mean, I can't really get like anything really expensive speaker-wise, so I got to do what I got to do. So what they do is they'll go out and buy something like this. Now, if you have the means, I suggest that you don't buy a plastic speaker monitor, because it's going to have this weird, nasally, horrible, empty, blanketed kind of sound to it, and they're just not going to sound good at all. I mean, I've proved it so many times in so many shootouts that I've done on the show, where it just boggles my mind. And again, if you're limited on funds, it's one thing, but it boggles my mind when turn this off here, save my battery. When people spend $1,700 to $2,200 on a profile or model or what have you, and then they'll buy the cheap $199 speaker, and you see it all the time in the groups. They're like, man, why can't I get this thing to sound good? I'm not having the amp in the room feel. I'm not getting this nice thumpy like anything, and my sounds are really kind of dull and lifeless and stuff, and it just sounds fake and digitally, and it's like, well, that's your reason right there. This is your culprit. 9 times out of 10, that's one of the biggest reasons why you're not liking, your Kemper, because you're playing it through something like this. So, and a lot of people will say, well, man, I mean, I can't afford to get like a Friedman cab or, something expensive like that, that's made out of wood. Well, the alternative, or really good, inexpensive alternative for you would be studio monitors. Get a pair of studio monitors, and I'm telling you, they're going to sound way better than these do. I don't care what kind of cab you get that's made out of plastic. I don't care how much you spend on it. They all sound the same. They all sound nasally and honky and like empty and blankety and they just sound weird. They're not flat. They're just PA speakers. And the only exception to what I'm saying is if you're in a band where you play out with your PA and you use your system every time you perform, then absolutely dial in your Kemper and stuff like that on the system that you constantly are playing through live. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Because you want consistency. But if you're going to take something like this, a $199 speaker or whatever that's made out of plastic, and use it at home and pick profiles and dial in your profiles on that, and then play through a completely different system with completely different speakers on it, and wonder why you're not consistent. That's why, because this thing is lying to you, and you're adjusting things on your tone to make those lies go away, and then you're going to go on stage in a real system, and you're going to be shocked at how horrible it sounds. So I would suggest a good pair of studio monitors, because studio monitors, for the most part, are pretty darn flat, especially when you compare them to plastic speakers. They're usually a wooden enclosure, they're usually higher quality speakers, and they're made for mixing music and keeping things kind of even and flat. These are not. It's a completely different animal. So now, if you do have the means, okay, and you want to spend some money on, on a cab that actually represents your sound better, the Friedman cabs are amazing. I've had them on the show many times. I've had shootouts with the Friedmans. I've had them go up against a lot of other higher end type, FRFR units out there, and they beat them. The Friedmans won every single time. So I've done plenty of shootouts on my own and blind shootouts on the show on fight nights that we had, where we ran them up against other things, and they beat everything. It wasn't even a contest. It wasn't even close. So if you have the means, then that would be a really good option for you as well. Okay, so the second reason why you might not like your Kemper is because of bad profiles. I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of bad profiles out there, and the advertising's very good. It's kind of like those movies that the ad was better than the movie. You know what I mean? The previews were awesome, but the movie sucked. And you see these ads, and you see people playing them and stuff like that, and then you get these profiles, and they feel terrible, they sound terrible. And believe it or not everybody that's out there selling profiles really knows what they're doing. There's people out there that really are good. Live Ready Sound's one of them. Makes a lot of great stuff. But the problem is there are people out there that are just trying to make some money. And God bless them for trying to make money, but make something that's worth paying for. Some of these profiles I've tried out and people have sent me are just awful. And I have tried and true, profiles that I trust and know are good, and I'll put them up against those, and every time I'm like, oh God, how can anybody play this? And there's a sterility there. There's some people that are making profiles, and they're so sterile, and they're so nip tucked, chopped up, and homogenized to the point where it's like, yeah, this sounds great in a mix. Well, yeah, but I'm playing it. I don't want to play a profile that sounds great in a mix. You know why? Because it's so chopped up, it feels terrible. And when I play it by myself in a room, it just sounds awful, So you got to think about that. You got to really, really think hard about the profiles that you're getting. And you hear them in the context of a mix on YouTube or whatever, and that's great, but a lot of these profiles that people are made for studio engineers who are sitting in a studio and reamping guitar tracks, and they're just turning a knob. They're just sitting there going, yeah, no, oh, yeah, that one sounds great in the mix. And the guitar player sitting on the couch going, yeah, dude, that sounds amazing. Let's go with that one for the mix. And you know what? I should probably use that on stage. And then he takes the profile home and tries it out. And he's like, yuck. Again, they're mix ready. They're not player ready. There's a big difference between a mix ready profile and a player ready profile. A huge difference. I mean, it's night and day. So look for profiles that feel just as good as they sound and sound just as good as they feel. And again, have a handful of them that you can bounce other profiles off of that you trust, so that you can keep things weeded out. I mean, I just updated my Kemper last night, and I updated Rig Manager. I finally got the new Rig Manager and all that. I deleted 800 profiles out of my Kemper. I'll never use them. Why? Well, who's got time for that, number one? And number two, I have my trusted group of profiles, and I'm not really interested in trying anything else and getting into that option paralysis rabbit hole again. I really don't need to. I just want to find stuff that I'm happy with and then just stick with it. I mean, that's basically the best thing that I can say to you is just get a handful and cycle through them. Maybe 10 profiles is all you need. As far as like a high gain kind of thing, or like 10 go-tos. I'll just put it to you that way. 10 go-to profiles that you can cycle through and just to keep things kind of interesting. Other than that, you don't need all these profiles, man. And every time you get a new pack, and I'm not trying to tell people not to buy packs and stuff. I mean, I definitely am not like anti profile maker, whatever, but I mean, it gets ridiculous after a while. I mean, pretty soon all you're doing is just chug chug turn a knob, chug chug turn a knob, and you're not practicing, you're not learning, you're not getting any better. You haven't played guitar in several hours or several days because all you're doing is just turning knobs and scratching your head and trying to figure out why this doesn't sound right the next day. And I mean, I did a whole episode about that, how to avoid the digital platform rabbit hole, and that's part of what was in there. So again, to recap on this particular section, bad profiles do exist. Avoid them by testing, profiles out with ones that you trust, and just stick with what you know is good. Seriously, stick with what you know is good and just be happy with it. And be honest with yourself about, do they really sound good or not? Test them out in mixes. Yeah, I'm lucky I got these backing tracks here that I could play to at any time on any given system, like my in-ears, my studio monitors, upstairs, my stereo system against my amps, or even my Kemper up there, whatever. I have all that stuff and I utilize it. I mean, I really see how these feel and sound in these mixes. And if there's any harshness that's coming at me, I'll know right away. And here's another tip real quick while we're on the subject. I didn't write this down, but it just came to me. Keep a good clean profile handy to test your high gain or even mid gain profiles too. Here's why. If you play a nice pleasant, nice clean tone that's just lush and beautiful and it just sounds amazing, and then you switch to a high gain profile and it sounds very harsh and awful to your ears, that's telling you something. It shouldn't do that. You should be able to go from a lush, clean, beautiful, pristine profile into a high gain profile. And yeah, it's going to sound more aggressive and it's going to sound like, really huge and distorted and stuff, but it shouldn't be harsh. So if there's a harshness there, then two things need to happen. You either need to dial it in better, which I wouldn't even waste my time with something that was that harsh, or you need to delete it and get something better. So when you bounce back and forth between a clean and a dirty profile, there should not be a jarring harshness. There should be a noticeable difference, obviously, but again, it shouldn't, because here's the thing. If you're on stage, all right, and you're playing one of your songs and you're going from a clean preset or profile to a dirty one, and it's that harsh, your audience is feeling that. Your audience is hearing that too, and people are wincing and just like, oh, God. And you don't want people to do that when they're at your show or listening to your album if you did it on your album. So that's a really good way to test the profile. That's one of my favorite ways. So now you don't have to worry about having backing tracks and all this stuff around. Just have a really nice, pristine, clean profile, and then run it right up against a dirty one and have them right next to each other in performance mode. And then just tap a switch to switch between them. And if it sounds awful, chuck it. Get something different. That's a really good way of doing it, and it doesn't cost you anything. All right, so here's another one. I was talking to Aaron Short about this earlier, and this is a great tip. This is something he's ran into. Bad EQ settings. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us want to practice at lower volumes. That's the one thing that we love about digital platforms, right? Is we could practice at low volumes. We don't have to crank it to get that ampy kind of sound that we like. Okay, well, that's great, but the problem is when you're practicing at a low volume in a room, a lot of times you're overcompensating on the EQ because you're not getting that thumpy low end, or maybe it's not bright enough for you. It just sounds kind of dull, right? So what you do is you turn the EQ up. You crank the highs. Maybe you'll bump the bass up a little bit, or some presonance or resonance or whatever, just to make it sound fuller and stuff at that volume. And then you go to band practice with those settings, and you plug in and you go, all right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. And now you're practicing at band practice or performance level. And guess what's happening? Your ears are bleeding because it's so sharp and it's so harsh sounding. And you're like, man, this sounds better at home. What the hell? This sounded great. I don't know why it sounds so bad. Well, you overcompensated with the EQ that you needed at a low volume to give you that nice little cut or brightness or low end or both or whatever to sound good at that volume level. But you forgot that when you cranked it up in a room, all that stuff that you overcompensated for is now also being overly amplified. And now you have this horrible sounding preset. So here's what I suggest that you do. I would have a practice version of a profile. So like if you got I don't know, like right now I got my PRS MT15 profile that I made that I'll be using tonight. And like if I was practicing with it at a low volume in a room, I would have that version of it where maybe I did nudge the highs a little bit or this or that. And then I would also have my live or performance version of that same profile, but I would have it tweaked so that it sounded good at a higher volume. So that's one way to really avoid that whole thing, because I think a lot of people forget. I think they really do forget that, oh, that's right, I was overcompensating for a low volume. That's why I cranked all this stuff. And now that it's up at a higher level, it's ripping my face off, and now I know why. And sometimes they'll overcompensate the bass too, and people are like, dude, that sounds really muddy. I don't know why it sounds muddy. It sounds great at home. Again, at a low volume, it sounds great in that room, but not at a higher volume, because all that bass and all that stuff that you're doing is going up with it. So that's another thing to definitely keep an eye on. All right, so here's the next thing. The definition setting is either too low or too high. Now I could demonstrate that for you. Okay. Take a look at the definition setting. What you do is you just hold down the amp button, and then you could scroll through the pages and see where it says definition. Now some amps do sound better with the lower definition. One of them is the Kraken. Like I've profiled my Kraken amp, and it definitely sounds better with the definition lower. Around 5, between 4 and 5.5. Otherwise, it gets really weird sounding. But then there's other amps that sound, you know how you take your tone knob and you roll it down either all the way or halfway or whatever, and it gives you that kind of muddy, kind of like dull sound. Well, that's what happens on a lot of profiles if the profile maker, or even you, if you made your own profiles, didn't turn that definition up, because it'll profile a lot of times with the definition down to even 2.3, 4.5 or whatever. And what happens is the definition is so low that it just sounds muddy and dull. So you want to go in there and take a look at that definition and see where it's at, because it will sound vastly different depending on what setting you use. So that's definitely something that you want to take a look at, especially if it's your profiles. Again, don't just assume that the guy that you bought profiles from remembered to do that. They forget things, and not everybody knows to do that. They'll just profile the amp, refine it a little bit and name it and ship it off and go, there you go. And they don't really turn the definition up or anything like that. And again, they don't really know. So that's something that you definitely want to keep your eye on, and turn it up accordingly. I have my MT15 here profile. Let me see what I got here. Let me make sure let me turn my wireless back on. Let me mute the mic so you don't hear the string clack. But what I'm going to do is, let me minimize this real quick. What I'm going to do is show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so like on my MT15 profile. Hold down the amp button. My definition is at 8.7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it down and show you how muddy and flubby this can get if you have the definition down too low. All right, and then I'll bring it back up. 1 second. You hear how muddy that is? I mean, it's just flubby. It literally sounds like I have my tone knob all the way down on my guitar. So it's got that weird kind of muddy sound. Okay, so let me bring it up slowly, and then you'll hear it. I'm gonna. It's at 0 now, and I exaggerated it to show you, and I'm gonna bring it up to like 5, and then and see what that sounds like. Here we go. Okay, that's better, but it's still not really there yet. It's still kind of flubby and just kind of dull sounding. I'm not getting that nice pick attack that I like. So let me bring it up to where I like it, which is, about 8 something. 8.7 I think is where I had it. And then you're going to hear the pick attack much better. So here we go. Okay, much better. So instead of like doing all this stupid EQ type stuff where I'm like, oh, I'll just crank the highs and crank the presence and this and that to try to get this thing to sound right, it's not that. That's not the problem. It's definition. So start with definition and then fine tune the other things from there. And that makes a huge difference in the feel too. It doesn't feel so muddy and lifeless and dull. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So if you got a profile of an amp that you like and there's just something missing, check the definition part first before you do anything else, and then move on from there. And then if you're doing your own profiles, which I do now, that's the first thing I go to. Even after I refine it, it's funny. You can refine an amp and play the hell out of your guitar in it for 15 minutes, and it still will have the definition set to a stupid spot. I don't know why it does it, but it does. With my Kraken profiles, it sets it to 10, which to me is like, it just sounds awful. It sounds so bad. So I have to turn the definition way down on my Kraken profiles to make them sound natural. Otherwise, they sound really weird and choppy, and it just got this weird kind of thing going on with them. And Rabia actually noticed that too when he did his Kraken profiles. He said, yeah, I'm turning the definition way down. The Kraken is just a very unique amp. So every amp has its sweet spot with the definition knob. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. Okay. So I hope that example helped you. And so here's the other thing. All right. So this brings me to my 5th thing. And then I'm going to take a quick break and then be back down, and then we'll go over some riffs and stuff like that. So the other thing that I would like to talk to you about is maybe you just are not an FRFR guy. No matter what kind of money you spend on an FRFR cab, you have that amp type stuff so ingrained in you that you can't unhear the things that you're hearing. And I get that. I really do. And it's not a cork sniffing thing at all. It's real. It really is real. Once you hear certain things and you get you get used to that, it's hard to get away from it. You always will notice the lack or the things that are just not sitting right with your ears or your hands or both. And you just can't get over it. So maybe you're not an FRFR guy or even a studio monitor guy. you know. So in that case, what I have is a really good option for you, and that's a tube power amp. If you don't have to get the Synergy Syn 5050, I hear KSR makes one that's very portable, more affordable. I haven't played it yet, but you can power a regular speaker cab with it. So the best option, the best the Kemper will ever sound, I don't care what anybody says. You can disagree with me all you want. I've ran it through its paces, through all this stuff. The best the Kemper will ever sound is through a tube power amp and a real cab. You can't beat that. And you just turn the cab section off of the Kemper. And I'm telling you, it is the most convincing version of the Kemper you will ever hear and feel. The sound is, I mean, it's not even, you can't tell the difference. You really can't tell the difference when you do it that way. I mean, because now you have amp in the room again, because you're playing through a real power amp and a real cab. So all that stuff is back. Your hands will never be happier. It will feel more responsive and more natural and way better, and it'll sound more natural and way better. I mean, there's no guessing anymore. There's no, but you know, because you're taking all of that out. You're taking out the mics. You're taking out the placement of those mics, the impulse response, the cab, the FRFR or the studio monitors, all the rabbit hole, option paralysis stuff that's associated with that stuff, gone. It's all gone. Now you're getting back to real. So people think, well, why would you even get a Kemper if you got to use, a power amp and real cab, to go out and play? Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to go out and perform with a Kemper, and I use in-ears, so I don't need all that stuff when I perform, but a lot of people don't. So they're going to bring an FRFR or a wedge or something like that with them, or have them pump their Kemper through the house monitor system so they can hear it, and they're always going to be dissatisfied with it. So it's like, well, you're going to bring a cab, to your show anyways. Well, what's so much, is this really that much work? Bringing this and a cab? You're just adding a rack mount amp, or like I said with the KSR amp, it's very small. It's like this big. And you're going to add that to your loadout, a big deal, but it's going to sound way better, way better. I mean, once I got the Synergy Syn 5050 and the Mesa 212 cabs, and I hooked my Kemper up through that into those cabs, I was like, oh my God. It was like the difference was night and day. It really was. And I've played my Kemper that way for so long now at home that as much as I love my Friedman cabs, they don't compare. They just don't. Because I heard it. I heard it and I felt it. And I can't unhear and unfeel those things ever again. It kind of ruined me. Because once you hear it, you're like, oh, there it is. And it's not subtle. It's very obvious, So again, I mean, it might sound like, oh, you're sniffing corks. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. Once I went back to doing some FRFR type stuff, because I'm making my own profiles now, and I got to test them on all this different stuff to make sure that they're good, I had to get used to FRFR cabs again. Again, as much as I like them, they don't compare to a real power amp and a real cab. They just don't. There's just a thing there that's just missing, and I can't really put my finger on it, but there's a missing link there that's very obvious. It's not subtle. So if all of these other things, if you're a Kemper owner and all of these other things aren't working for you, no matter what monitors you use, no matter what FRFR cab you use or whatever, in-ears, whatever, and you're still like, man, I don't know. Get a power amp, a tube power amp, and a real cab, and I'm telling you, you're going to be like, oh my God, there it is. I can't tell the difference now between this and the amp. I really can't. So that would be your missing link. It really will. That will solve a lot of your problems. Is it worth it? Well, that's up to you. But again, if you're going to load out for a show, and you're going to go on stage and use your own monitor anyways, or your own cab anyways, well, how much more work is it to just grab a rack mount little amp here? It's not. That'll fit in your truck easily. So it's worth the effort. It really is. Would I do it at every show? No, because again, I use in-ears, so I don't need to. But but I'm using in-ears tonight when I play for you guys. I'll be using them, and everything sounds great in my in-ears, but it still doesn't compare to this in a real cab. Every time I plug into that, I'm like, oh my god, this is it. This is 100% legit. And what's nice is you still get all the options that Kemper has. You get the effects, you get the all the switchability and like different amps that you can use, and all that great stuff. There's a lot of profile makers that make great DI profiles, direct profiles, and you can use those with that setup. And I'm telling you, you'll still get the great variety and all the features that Kemper offers. But now you'll also get that amp in the room feel and the real cab. And again, no more option paralysis. That's gone. Now you can just play and enjoy the Kemper. So that's what I would suggest. If you really want the cream of the crop sound from your Kemper, that's the way to get it. It really 100% is. Let me see if I can catch up to you guys here. Got 41 of you. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Darren Moore, what's going on, buddy? Brent Nelson, what's happening? Michael Landrum, what's going on, buddy? Okay, so let me scroll back here and see. Aaron Short's asking, Jared, how many times have you used the editor since released? You never mention it. Good question. I just downloaded the editor, the new editor last night, and updated my Kemper because, hey, I'm stuck home doing nothing, so I might as well do all that stuff. And I just used it last night for the first time, and it's actually pretty cool. I didn't use it enough to really dig in. I just deleted like 800 profiles off my Kemper. That's pretty much what I used it for. I noticed the knobs and the different things. I didn't use any of those, but I'm going to use the editor mainly for labeling all my profiles when I make them. It just makes it a lot easier. It's just easier than turning the knob all the time. I can go in and type all the information in there. And so when people buy my profiles, they can actually get all that info and go, oh, use this mic and this speaker cabinet. And, I'll give them as much information as I can. But right now, if I had to do it all on the Kemper, I would go crazy turning that dial and selecting each letter one at a time. And remember when we had the phones that when we texted each other, we had to push each button 2 or 3 times to select? That's what it feels like when I'm labeling profiles right now on my Kemper. It's a nightmare, it takes forever to do. So that's why I got the editor. Otherwise, I would never use it because I'm not a tweaker. I pick a profile that I like. I set it up the way I like it, put the preset, the effects in there the way I like them, and I just play. I don't do a whole bunch of chugging and knob turning and stuff. I want to be a better guitar player and a better writer and a better musician. I don't want to be a better Kemper dialer inner guy. God bless you guys if you like that, but that's just not for me, man. I just want to play, and if I'm going to spend all that time on something dialing it in, I know that it's not making me any better as a player, and I've already been down that road, and I'm never going back. It's a horrible road to be on. James Taylor, love running the Kemper through my Syn 5050, but I still use my Synergy mods more often. Hey, what's up, Jason? I almost brought my Synergy modules down here tonight just to have them on the set. I love those things, man. They're awesome. But yeah, the Kemper through the Syn 5050, honestly, it doesn't get any better. It really doesn't. You run it through that in a real cab, you're done. You'll never go back. The response, the back and forth between your hands and the speaker, the guitar, the pick, your ears, everything, the symbiotic kind of thing that's happening, it is unbeatable. It really is. It's the best. Like I said, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's really, really cool, Let's see here. Michael Landrum, what's the name of the power amp? This is the Synergy Syn 5050, SYN 5050. It's a stereo power amp. You can run it mono or stereo, either way. It'll do 4, 8, or 16 ohm, and it sounds fantastic. It really does a great job. So you can pick your favorite cabinet, which to me, my favorite cab is the Mesa 212. Those are the cabs that I like to use because I get plenty of punch, thump, percussiveness, but I get that nice fullness and attack that I like. 412s are too airy and woofy to me. I like something that's a little more percussive and tighter. So, and I got 2 of them. So I got one on each side, and I got the stereo sound going on. Or a lot of times I'll just run one of them because I keep one cab down here now for the show. And it sounds great. It really does. So get a SYN 5050. I think that would be a really good option for you. You mofo, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for the super chat. Love to hear you play through a Telecaster. I mean, if I ever get one over here, I'd do it for you. I don't know what I would do with the Telecaster. I've got a friend that's got a metal telly, and actually played pretty good. But I got to have the wiggle stick. I got to have all the little tricks and. But I mean, I wouldn't mind checking one out sometime. So Paul, what's going on, buddy? Great show. Thank you so much, dude. Ed Hinchy, 4x12 cab and keeping my Helix for effects. What do you think of that approach versus buying traditional amp and cab? Let me see here. Let me make sure I'm in understanding your question. 4x12 cab and keeping my Helix for effects. What do you think of that approach? Versus buying a traditional amp and cab. If you're talking about running your Helix 4 cable method, if that's what you're talking about, oh yeah, absolutely. That's how I run mine. My Helix is ran through all my amps 4 cable method, so it MIDI controls and switches my my PRS MT15 and my which is kind of hidden there, but my Victory Kraken. It programs those and uses effects with them and everything, and it sounds fantastic. I think that's the best setup for me, anyways. And then you run it to a real amp and a real cab, and you got the best of all worlds right there. Kevin says, I agree about the power amp with a modeler. I will be running my FM3 in stereo through my amp effects loops. Invective and Supercrack. No, it's a great idea. I mean, it really does. I mean, I did an episode about Helix. Even my Helix, I ran through the real power amp and cabs, and the improvement that gave it was night and day. I mean, again, so a lot of people watching right now, please understand. Like, I'm not sniffing corks here. I'm not being a snobby. One of those guys. It really is a huge, huge difference. And once you hear it, once you feel it, all you need is 10 minutes with it, and then switch back to going through something else, and you'll feel it. All that stuff will be like, oh my God, how could I have ever thought this sounded good? That's how big of a difference it is. And that's when you'll get that light go off in your head and be like, oh my God, I guess I gotta buy a power amp and cab now. It's that good. It really is, You'll never be able to unhear it. So, let's see here. Oh, Michael Landon's asking me to play a little bit. Yeah, I will. I will definitely be happy to do that for you. In just a second, let me read a couple more comments. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back, and then we'll do some playing. Let's see. Ed Hinchy, play through. Oh, I think I already read that. Okay. Gravel Rocks Band. Oh, wait, I missed this one. Ed Hinchy says, I play through a Helix and a power cab. I'm thinking about investing in the Synergy system, SYN 50, and getting a 4x12 cab and running my Helix. Oh, I missed that first part of it. Yeah, definitely run it through that. Ed, it'll sound way better. I mean, if you watch my episode, I think it was titled Can Tubes Save the Helix or something like that, it'll definitely answer a lot of your questions. It really will. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I will be right back, and we'll do some playing, okay? 1 second, guys.
Hi, this is Carrie from Tone Wars. We're going to go live in just a few minutes, but before we do, I just wanted to take a few seconds to say a few things. Jared and I really appreciate when you guys tune in and interact with us when we go live. We work very hard to make sure that our live streams and our produced videos are educational and entertaining for everyone. Believe it or not, there's a lot of work that goes into our live streams and our produced videos. So if you like what you're experiencing here, here's a couple ways you can help us out. The Super Chat feature is turned on and any amount will be appreciated. Jared is also available for private consultation for a nominal fee. You can contact Jared through two of the links below. One is through our Tone Wars Facebook page and the other is through email. So thank you so much for your support. The live stream's about ready to start, so go pour yourself your favorite glass of whiskey or other libation and we'll be right with you. Cheers!
Welcome to Tone Wars. Just made it. All right, sorry about that, guys. I got to stay hydrated. I've been drinking so much water and everything lately. It's just going right through me. So, okay, so before I get into the playing part and the fix my in-ears here, and all that, let me just preface with this. I'm going to share some concepts that I use a lot, and I am not a guitar teacher. I don't think that I'm bestowing any kind of like awesome stuff upon people. It's not anything like that at all. I'm sure that most of the people that are watching right now and on the rewatch can play me under the table. I'm just sharing this stuff with you guys just as something that might be kind of fun for you to work on while we're all stuck at home, and just trying to, figure out like, what can I do? What kinds of things can I work on? So a lot of you might look at this and go, well, that's a pretty simple concept. I mean, gosh, whatever. But I'm just, the thing is that I've learned is that I can take even a simple concept from time to time and turn it into something that is my own, and maybe I can add or even take away things from it and just try to make it my own thing. It's kind of like when you buy a car from somebody, you take it and you hang something on the mirror, you polish it up, you do this, you do that, maybe you fix a few things, you know what I'm saying? And you kind of make it your own, and so that's kind of what I'm looking to do here is show you that. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple concepts that I do, and then I'm going to use those in a mix. And then we'll break it down again afterwards. Again, I'm not a teacher, so forgive me if it's not really teachy, but I'm just going to kind of try to do my best. I'm still trying to get my chops back up. So I picked something that's a little challenging for me, but at the same time, hopefully it'll be something that you guys can benefit from as well. Okay. You mofo says, why do people really sniff corks? Do you get high that way? No, it's a wine tasting thing, I guess. Let's see here. Chicago Todd, Jared, you should try to run the Kemper through the effects on the blue guitar Iridium and out to your cab. You know what? That might not be a bad idea, dude. I should probably give that a try. I'm just going to try to do a couple of concepts here for you guys. So one of the concepts that I do is what I just did. It's a repetitive, kind of riff. I'll turn on the Kemper and all that in a second, but you hear how I'm repeating the second three notes. So instead of just going 3 notes per string all the way up to the end, I'm repeating. So that way, see, a lot of times when you're doing runs and stuff like that, what happens is it sounds like you're playing all these notes, and in our heads we're listening to this dude play, and we're like, man, he's probably going from here to here, and really he's not. He's just repeating things, and it's the same amount of notes as if you did go from here to here, but you're going from here to here. You see what I'm saying? Like the traveling is much, much smaller, but since you're repeating notes, you don't have to go all over the neck and everything. You can just kind of stay in one spot and just, instead of, see the difference? So, so I'll go ahead and fire up Kemper. I'll do that, and I'll go over a couple of other concepts with you. Then I'll play it all in a mix for you. So that's basically what it sounds like. So, and I'm going to actually use that actual riff in this song. So another thing that I like to do, as opposed to like, so you got your arpeggios, that kind of stuff. But what I like to do is I like to add a finger or two. I'll usually add, these two, my index and my ring finger, to them, and I'll roll them. Let me turn the Kemper back on. I'll mute the mic. It's two more notes that you're adding, and it just adds more flavor, and then you can move that around all over the neck wherever you want, and I'll use that same concept in this next song as well. So there's that, and then there's also the other thing where you do the tapping arpeggios, where you kind of there's all kinds of ways to do it. Now that's why I use this fret wrap, because it kind of deadens the strings that I'm not playing, and it allows me to do a lot of that stuff without worrying about muting the strings all the time. And I know some people might say, well, a real guitar player doesn't need that. Well, I'm not Jason Richardson. I'm not John Petrucci. I'm me. And I don't go out and play in front of like stadiums full of people. And I guess maybe if I was that guy, maybe I would probably find the time to work on making sure the meat of my hand here was muting strings perfectly. Can I do it? Yeah, it's hit and miss with me. I'd rather use this because it just makes it easier. And sometimes you're going so fast with it, you don't really have time to, you're going from picking and shredding and doing some stuff all the way up to doing that. And it's very difficult to do and perfect. And I just don't have that kind of time on my hands. So, and a little tip about these things, what you want to do is keep them tight enough so that you don't have to move them all the way up the neck to be effective, but loose enough so that they're easily, moved around. So you got to find that sweet spot with it. And the other thing too is you don't use it through the whole solo. So you find points in the solo where you pick your spot, where you like, maybe you're ringing out a note and you just grab it real quick. Because the next section, like a couple 20 seconds from now or whatever, you're going to be doing something that requires you to use this. So you pick your spots where you kind of slide it up. So you just look for a moment, again, holding a note, bring it up, and then you end that little segment and you're holding a note here and you just bring it back real quick, and you just pick your spots where you make it work for you. So that's why I always have these on. I don't use them for every solo or every part of the solo, but if you do see me slide this forward, I pick the spot that worked for me, and something's coming up soon where I'm going to require that to be there. That's basically what I do. So with the tapping arpeggios, basically you're just doing, something like that. That's all that is. So let me mute the mic, and I'll use the Kemper to do that. And I'll use the actual tapping arpeggio I'm going to do in this solo tonight. it's one of those things of when I think about it, I'm like, how do I play that again? So it's just, I think it's, yeah, so there it is. 1 second. So it just adds, it's just another thing, another flavor that you can add, to your playing, So there's all kinds of ways you can use it. You can move it around, you can do whatever you want with it, and find ways of making it work for you. It's just, again, it's another flavor, it's another concept. You don't have to play it fast. You could play it slow, you could play it at whatever speed you want. But what's cool about it is it adds it's another dimension to your playing, So what I'm going to do now is attempt to do a solo. It's like the last half of the song. It's called The Quest. And I'm going to do all of those concepts in there. Okay. And hopefully I'll actually play it properly. Again, still on the mend here. Not feeling 100% confident, but just wanted to share some stuff with you guys tonight. So let's see how this works out. Okay, so that's basically all of those concepts in one solo. You saw the repetitive, thing where it's, the whole. So there's that, and then there's the other thing where since I started the solo out with that tapping stuff, I moved this up right away. So and then I picked my spot later where I moved it back because I had some dive bombs and some harmonics that needed to ring out, and obviously I can't do that with this, muting the strings. So I'll play that for you, and it's actually really simple, to play. It's not that hard. So all I'm doing is. So that's all it is. So I'll do it again, slow. So you can move it around anywhere. That's what's so nice about that concept is that as long as and then if you add that second finger on your picking hand, like your ring finger or pinky or whatever, it adds even more dimension to it. And then what I'm doing is I'm just double tapping on some spots. Turn the delay off so you can hear it even better. So that's basically all it is. You're just moving it around, and it just adds more dimension to your playing. It's, because otherwise, kind of what you're looking at is just sweep picking, which is great, See how much more interesting it is, though, when you. It's just more interesting. It just adds more notes, more color, more stuff like that to it. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. And even the whole, so I'll do that again and I'll do the next part after it. So again, I did a little tap there. And then I do another. So, it's just all those little things, that just adds to the color of it. Again, you can do the sweep picking, you can do all that, and it's great to do. But what I always try to do, especially with this particular solo, I'd actually started out that way. It actually started out when I was just doing the sweeps, But again, I was like, I've done that before. I've done it here, I've done it there, and it's a descending sweep picking thing, and I'm sure it would have been fine, But adding all that other stuff to it, it just made it more interesting to me. It's not something that you hear every day. It's not something that you hear every guitar player do, but it's definitely something that if you do it, it can add a lot of spice to your solos, and I don't know, I think it looks kind of cool. Like when people look at it, they're like, what's he doing? And people ask me all the time because they see me flicking my finger because I'm doing the, they're like, are you using more than one finger? I'm like, yeah, I'm using more than one. And it's actually a concept that, is I think for some people, it comes really easy. And for some people, it doesn't. It's not as easy as it looks. But once you master that concept, I'll tell you, it's one of those things that's worth working on, because once you master it, it's one of those things where you can play it easily all day long. It's effortless. Like, it's so easy to do when you do that, all that double tapping, finger stuff. I mean, I use it all the time. There's another song I use it on. It's just like I said, you can use it in so many ways, and it's again, once you master it, it's not really that hard to do anymore. And it really adds a lot of color and definition to your solos. And I mean, when you hear it, it sounds like you're going a billion miles an hour. And I mean, yeah, there's some notes flying around there, but it's not really that hard. It's not like I'm sweating bullets to play this. So it's something that tapping is always something that kind of came natural for me. The things that are hard for me are downstrokes on sweep picking. I suck at it. I have to really work really hard on aligning the timing up when I'm doing the down part of sweep picking. So that's where I struggle, big time. Another one, I know I said I was going to do 3, but let me do one more for you guys too. And that concept would be called, what I call it, backwards forwards. So I'm going to play forward, but I'm going to play the notes backwards. Okay, if that makes sense. So let me mute the mic here. Let me try out a couple things here and show you. So that was that same thing that I just did, this way. Except now I'm going to do it backwards. Another way you can do it too is just picking like chromatics. So I just did chromatics there. And while we're doing tricks, why not do another trick? Here's the trick I learned from John Petrucci, not directly, but just from listening to him, is that he'll color the last note that he plays by switching the pickup selector from the neck pickup to the bridge pickup. So, like, for instance, like right here, here's one of his famous licks right here. You hear how the note just opened up at the end there, and it sounds like I hit something different or hit a different note or whatever. It's not. It's the same note, except when I hit it, let me turn my volume back. So that coloring that you hear is coming from me switching back from the neck pickup to the bridge pickup. And it just adds this really nice kind of, he calls it a blossoming kind of thing. It doesn't sound really masculine, but but it just opens the note up and colorizes it differently and really helps the note sing more. And that's something that he does in every solo. I mean, every solo there's spots where he picks a spot where he'll do that, and that's why these guitars are set up so that the pickup selector is very easily accessible. So when you're playing, you can flick it in whatever direction you want very, very quickly and very easily, so that you can do those kinds of things. And it's all those little things that you do to your solos that will add so much coloration to it. And maybe not everyone will appreciate what you're doing, but because a lot of times it's kind of like eating a meal that's made by a really good chef. You don't know what was in there. You don't know how long it took them to make it. All you know is it tasted amazing. And it's the same kind of thing what we're doing here. We're just putting in all these ingredients that at the end of the day, when people listen to you play or even watch you or both, they're going to be like, that was amazing. I don't know why it was amazing, but it was really cool. It puts you at a different level. There's like this next step where it's like, those little things that you do in your solos will definitely enhance them in ways where, again, not everybody's going to be able to put their finger on why it's better, but they're going to know that it just is. And it doesn't have to be super hard to play. I mean, that little pickup selector thing, anybody can do that, but it adds, coloration to things, and there's sweet spots on the neck, on the different strings where that really is enhanced even more. And when you find those sweet spots, you'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds killer, and you'll do it every time, because it just sounds so badass. So those are definitely some concepts that, again, I think that anybody can do for the most part. And if you apply those to your solos, and again, like if you have a solo that you're writing right now and you're doing some ascending or descending, sweeping arpeggios, or even just triads or whatever, add a finger, add two fingers, and then take the sweeping part out, because again, this isn't hard to do. It's all legato. So let me add to that. So that's definitely something that is easy to add to, and then there's times where you'll not do a whole triad. You can do like instead of that, you could do or even like, just whatever. That was out of key, but you know what I'm talking about, though. Like just different things. Move it around, play around with it. Don't just do it on the, these three strings either. You could do it on these three. You can move it all over the place and have fun with it, and you'll discover a whole new dimension of playing and stuff. And again, like for the listener, they're going to hear a plethora of notes coming at them. And then you could do it, and it sounds very impressive. And you could do it in different orders too. You don't have to do the roll-on, pull-off kind of thing where it's like, you can do... you could do it in different orders, different, you could start with this finger, you could start with whatever finger you want. So, and there's just so many like versions of that, and it just opens up all these things. And again, it's kind of like what I was saying is like you could take this and make it your own. You can do whatever you want with it and move it around the neck and do it in different orders, different ways of doing things. So, I mean, I just think that that's kind of a fun way of just adding to your arsenal, So let me take a sip here, catch up to your comments. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Again, I'm not Steve Stein. I'm not, Rick Graham. I'm not a guitar teacher. But I just figured, you know what? Let's share some information tonight. Let's just have a good time, and see how this goes. Mule Blues, dude, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you guys so much. Chicago Todd, thank you. Sounds killer, he says. Sounds great, bro, says Michael. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that very much. Damien, what's going on, buddy? So he's got a friend from Sweden listening to me and watching the live stream. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Excellent techniques. Oh, thanks, Steve Shaheen, for the comment, the compliment on the solo. I appreciate that. He's a great player too. He does a lot of crazy tappy stuff. So, yeah, it's really fun to do. Mark Bowers said Carrie's vocals sound amazing. I'll pass that on to her. Thank you. Yeah, she's a great singer, man. She's awesome to work with. Love the solo techniques you're using. Sounds awesome. Thank you, Jason. Um, I appreciate it very much. I really do. Uh, Chicago Todd said, I always wondered how those string dampening devices deal with open strings. I imagine you can't use it with open strings. I mean, it depends on what you're playing. I'm scrolling back to kind of catch up to your comments here. But yeah, it depends on what you're playing. It really does. I don't use it all the time. I just use it for sections. So like, you'll see like on certain solos that I do, you'll see me slide it up suddenly. And the reason again why I do that is because there's just something I'm about to do that requires the strings to be dampened. And yeah, there's people that don't need it, but those are those are guys that just practice 8 hours a day, and I don't have that kind of time on my. Well, I do now, I guess, but for the most part, most of us mortals don't have that kind of time on our hands. We're just trying to get through each day and just do our thing, and it actually makes it very simple. Now, there's guys like Michael Romeo, who's a fantastic guitar player. He uses one. There's plenty of guys that use them, and a lot of it just depends on where you're coming from, when you're going into those passages. And a lot of times you just need it there because there's just the way you're holding your pick. And I mean, I'm switching my pick to my fingers, when I'm doing stuff like that. I don't always have time to sit here and switch that and then mute the strings with the meat of my hand. And you know what I mean? It's just too much. So I'd rather just go boop. It just keeps it real simple for me, and I'm able to kind of, get through the song by doing that. So maybe I could do the solo by itself now. And John Claudio, what's going on, buddy? Bobby Lackey, nice dude, well played and explained. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like, this is my first time really even attempting at showing how to do like playing concepts and stuff like that. And again, I don't consider myself a guitar teacher, so I was hoping that it would come across okay. And I just hope that it gives you guys something to work on and something that's fun. And once you master this, man, I'm not kidding you. You can move it all over the neck and make it part of your arsenal, and it's effortless. Like, it's so easy to do. It's really not hard at all. Anybody can do this. It will not take long, Jason Taylor, let me see here. He's asking if it's Ingve that's watching. Hey, Ingve. If Ingve watches this, he'd probably be throwing up going, I can't believe he's showing these crabby techniques to everyone. I don't eat donuts. Paul, what's up, man? Thanks, man. Sounds great as usual, he says. Let's see here. Greg Howe uses a fret wrap. Well, there you go. If Greg Howe's got to use one, then I'm okay, I guess. That guy is sick. That guy is amazing. So Michelangelo Badio, yeah, that guy is a freak. Yeah, super clean, super fast. Yeah, I can't achieve that kind of greatness, man. I just don't have that kind of time, Let's see here. Hey, Vincent. I think it's everyone meet Vincent. He's a famous guitar player under a nickname. What's going on, Vincent? Thanks for being here. That's awesome. I'm glad he's here. Glad everybody's here. Let's see here. Yeah, Vincent says it's coordination, and when you get that started, it's going to improve every day. Exactly. It really is. It's like a motor skill. It's just a matter of just doing it. And what's cool about, this, I mean, you can do it all day, You can do it while you're watching TV on the couch, just to get the coordination down. See how I just added that finger? He had two fingers. You know, just there's so many ways of doing it. And again, the backwards forwards thing, that's one of my favorite things to do. I use that all the time. You know, just stuff like that. I mean, it just, instead of going traditional, try to break the mold. Like, instead of doing like the forward run, you know, like I did earlier, that's fine, but why not go backwards? You know, and then add that little pickup selector thing at the end of it, and now you got yourself a really cool riff, you know? It's just so nice. And then a lot of times with that last trick with the pickup selector, it's how you strike the note too. Strike it down a little hard, be a little harsh with it, and it'll open up even more when you switch pickups. You know? You hear the difference? As soon as I found the sweet spot on how to hit that note, it just opened up even more. So it's just all those little things, those little touches that you do. And so like on certain parts of the neck, you know, you don't have to strike it as hard or as differently to get it to blossom like that, you know? See, it's a lower spot. It's a whole step down from what I was striking it earlier. So on that spot, it's not so picky. But on this spot, you know, up here, you hear how it didn't really blossom that well, but this time I'll strike it better and it will. That's the difference. So if you can't get it to do it, it's because you didn't strike it right. You got to down pick it a little differently, and like almost like you're doing a pinch harmonic, but it's like in between a regular hit and a pinch harmonic. And trust me, once you find the sweet spots on all that stuff, you'll remember them. You'll remember them every time and be like, I'm going to use that. And it really helps your notes ring out differently. And it just adds that professional kind of polish to your solos. It really does, you know. So I hope these tricks, you know, helped you out and gave you something to kind of practice and screw around with. And I'm glad that I was able to share this stuff with you guys tonight. You know, let's see here. Damien says he finally brought the 6505 Plus. Sweet, man. Let me know how you like it. Hey, Leland, what's going on, man? Yes, they do. Vincent says, thank you all for the welcome. No, it's we're family here, man. Everybody likes having a good time. We hang out. We always have a good time here. I go live every Wednesday night at 8, usually with gear demos and stuff, but I don't have anything to demo this week because everyone's closed. But I figured I would do like a tutorial on the Kemper, help people out. Maybe they can get their Kemper sounding better. And then do a couple riffs for you guys and show you, maybe some tricks and stuff like that. So, let's see here. You got the economy picking too. Down, up, down, down. Yeah, I mean you got to do all that kind of stuff, man. It's the the down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You got to do that. I mean, it takes a while, for me to get it down, but it definitely, it becomes, like, after a while, it becomes second nature to you, when you do it more. So here's what I can do. Let me close out with this. I'll attempt to play this solo by itself, so you can hear it in its entirety, just all by itself. I still hope I do it right. And maybe I got this other guitar here. I got another solo that's like my nemesis. I hate playing it live because I always second guess everything on it. And I haven't been playing that much lately because, you guys know I've been sick. So whatever. Maybe I'll do that one too. So let me just power through this one, and we'll see what we got. Well, that wasn't bad. A couple little snafus there, but yeah, that's pretty much what that solo is, by itself. All those little concepts were in there. So hopefully that kind of helped you guys out and seeing what some of that stuff is. Let me. I know this is really risky, but maybe I'll do that other one. I got to get over my my fear of playing that one because this solo is so weird. It's one of those solos that like maybe vocalists can relate. You know how you hit these super high notes and then like now you got to do it every time live? That's what the solo's like for me. Like, oh God, why did I write that? Now I got to play that stupid thing every time and do all the concepts of it and nail it. It's just very all over the place. There's a lot of concepts in here that I showed you guys tonight. Let me see where I'm at on this guitar here. Making sure I'm in tune and stuff. Okay, so John Claudio says, by the way, got the Kraken IR from Rabia. Now my go-to tone. Cool. Yeah, the Kraken's a great amp, man. It's a freaking killer amp. Any budget tube power amps for Kemper that you can recommend? Great question. I know KSR KSR came out with one. It's a smaller kind of more portable. I don't know exactly how much it is, but look at KSR amplification, and I'm sure it's on their website because I know they released one at NAMM, and it's pretty small, and it's supposed to be really lightweight. It's a real tube power amp, and it's a concept they were working on to help you be able to use like your modeler or whatever and use in a real cab, and it'll give you the power that you need with the tube coloration, which is what everybody likes. So might want to look into that. Let's see here. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. I would highly suggest that. So, okay. So anyways, well, I've been on for almost 2 hours tonight, and I wanted to, make sure that I covered everything. I covered the Kemper stuff. I covered some riffs and some concepts for you guys. So again, I hope that you guys got something out of this. I really appreciate it. This was literally planned kind of last minute ish, so I hope that it turned out okay for you guys. It's been a crazy couple of weeks here. I've had a lot of things on hold, and I haven't done a lot of planning because of how I was feeling. So I'll get back into the swing of things very soon. And hopefully, Sunday night, Carrie will make her return, and we can actually have a full hang with you guys, with her and I. And I don't know what I'll be demoing that night. I'll have to come up with something. Maybe we'll come up with some things that we can do demos of for you guys, and just keep things going. So, but well, I wanted to say thank you all for being here. I really very much appreciate every one of you, and it was great reconnecting with you guys on Sunday night, and seeing all the names and the positive vibes and the super chats and all that fun stuff. It was very kind of you. I very much appreciate it, and I really missed you guys very much. So, well, I look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday night, most likely with Carrie. We're still trying to figure out the whole social distancing thing, but we'll figure it out. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Keep an eye on the community section for what I'm going to announce for that night. I'm still trying to come up with some new ideas and everything, but hopefully we'll have something exciting for you guys that night. I know she'll be excited to be here, and I'm excited to see her again. It's been a long time. So, well, once again, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys very soon. You guys all take care of yourselves, and have a great night, and cheers.